Welcome back to today's video, and today I wish us to dissect one of the toughest instances that a human being finds themselves in once in a lifetime. This is the dilemma on when to discern whether we should stay or go. You found yourself in life whereby you don't know if to stay or leave a relationship, your job, or even a business that you've started. Why we find it so challenging to make this decision is because one, these decisions could be life-changing. They could turn events for better or for worse. We also have a challenge deciding because we've invested so much. We've invested our time, energy, financially, emotions. So it's not a decision that you can wake up and just make it as an impulse decision. No, it's not doable. You also need to be careful that the decision you make is the best decision and it's the best option out of what you had. So, whether to stay or leave is determined by a number of factors. I want us to look into some key indicators that you can observe in the environment that you are in just before you make the decision. Now, are you in an environment whereby you don't remember the last time you were happy? Maybe it's your workplace, or it's a relationship, or even it's your business that you wake up to every day. You cannot recall the last time you were happy by yourself. This simply means you're also being unproductive because clearly you have to be enjoying that environment for you to be able to operate to your best level, to the best of your abilities. So that means you've been unproductive. Well, now that you're unproductive in an instance of a relationship, that means you're not doing yourself justice, neither are you doing justice to the other party, because you're not being a product. So basically you're more or less doing just the bare minimums, breadcrumbs. I don't think it's fair you being there because you also end up stagnating in an instance of a career and you don't remember the last day you're happy, and that means you're not being productive. That means you're also stagnating your skills wise. You're not learning anything new. It's no longer adventurous space. The second thing that I want you to observe in that environment that you are in is that you feel lesser. It also it gets to a point of tampering with your self-esteem. Like you're not appreciated as you should be. You're just being taken for granted. The respect is no longer being served, despite you giving all the effort, maximizing on all the skills that you have to make things work in that environment. You're still feeling lesser and being unappreciated. The third thing that I want you to observe is you're losing yourself. You're losing yourself in this way. You have to compromise so much. Like you have to lose your ethics and values. You have to compromise to be able to survive in that environment. A human being is made up of like you as an individual. What makes you up is your ethics and your values. That's what makes you who you are and how unique you are as a person. But now you find yourself in a situation whereby you have to compromise all this. So clearly you're losing yourself to something else so that you're able to survive in this particular environment. I don't think that's worth, because once you lose yourself, there's no turning back again, and you're living somebody else's life clearly, and you'll never be happy anyway because you know what you ought to be doing, but now here you have to camouflage to something else for you to survive. Then I don't think that's healthy. The other thing you shall observe in that environment is you are constantly stressed, you're sad all the time. Like you're even at a point where you sit down and start questioning, like, how did I even find myself here in the last place? Maybe it's a business. You wake up into that business in the morning and like, what even drove me to start this kind of a business? Like you start questioning even your sanity, I don't think there's anything that is worth your mental health. The last indicator that you're going to check, quite funny, but it's true. You'll constantly find yourself looking for this kind of materials. Like you're constantly on Google. When should I quit my workplace? When should I know it's time to leave this relationship? How do I know a relationship is toxic? Honey, that's an indicator. If you realize all these things that you have mentioned, they're in your environment, not one, not two, maybe it's 3 and above of the things that you mentioned, then now clearly you need to raise your antennae and know you ought to do something. But just before you make that decision to leave, because look an instance where you've invested all along, you've invested a lot, even in that work environment, just don't wake up and quit. No. It happens, I know sometimes, but I don't advise somebody to do so. Why? You also need to you also need not make a decision and then the next day you're regretting the decision that you made. Why? Because you made an impulse decision, you didn't consider a number of factors. Here are some of the factors that I want you to consider just before I'll leave or I'll stay. One of the factors is, are you somebody who quits when times get tough? Like, okay, in a job example, when last did you quit the last job you were in? Like, are you this kind of person when times get tough, you just quit? Now, if you are that kind of a person, whether in a relationship case or a business case or even an employment case, I'll urge you to stay this time around. One, you'll grow resilient and you'll be able to overcome challenges and even to boost your self-confidence. So I wouldn't advise you to quit like you so normal, like things don't go your way, you're always quitting. No. You need to also become resilient. Like, shouldn't be a normal thing for you to quit when you've not exhausted all the options given. The other thing I wish you to check is, are you this kind of a person who is skilled with problem solving skills? Like, do you have the problem solving skills? Maybe the communication skills. You are resilient. Like, okay, so maybe in a work setup, if I communicate this thing, maybe it's a communication with your juniors, or maybe it's a communication with your boss that you are supposed to make, it could solve the problem. Maybe it's something that has occurred at work and you need to be assertive enough to make decisions. So clearly, before you make the decision, you need to know, do I have these skills and have I made use of them? Sometimes maybe even all what you need is to include some relaxation schedule. Maybe you just need a break, you just need a breather, you really need no quit. If it's work, you need to take a leave and then come back re-energized to move on. Also, you need to have things like how to manage pressure, to manage stress, because clearly it will never be a walk in the park, wherever you are, whether in that relationship, at work, or that business that you're running. The third thing that I want you to try is, have you tried to make things work? Like, have you made any effort? If you've made any effort and still there's no any positive results that you're getting, then I think you can consider quitting. Lastly, you need to analyze the circumstances of the decision that you're going to make. Because maybe if you're making a decision of maybe quitting your job, how well are your finances? Have you arranged yourself for maybe how you're going to survive as you transition? Maybe do you have another job in place? Maybe are you setting up a business? You need to have to analyze all these circumstances to avoid making decisions and then you're regretting the other day and you don't know what to do with yourself and you're like, I think I made the wrong decision. Essentially, why you're doing all this is because you need to be sure that you exhausted all the options you have and this is the best option that you had at hand, and this will make sure that there's no room for regret and those kind of things as you transition along the way. Now, if you've exhausted all these options above and you've analyzed all of them, and you still find that the threshold of the grace to operate is still depleted, honey, I think it's wise enough for you to close that chapter. Close that door. Look forward to what life has to offer. Because the end of one thing clearly is the beginning of another thing. And I hope this time it is going to be a beautiful story. That's all I had for today. See you in the next one.